Guys, welcome to Cow Corner Cricket Cast. I'm your host Pratham. I'm joined by other hosts today at last. He's been out for a bit, but I'm so glad to see him. A great mate of mine, Rohan, and we're tuned in to be talking about the first test. Yes, at Trent Bridge, one of my favorite grounds in the world. I'm not going to lie. Nottingham, between India and England.
Who doesn't love Trent Bridge?
It's just a great ground, man.
It's like Lords, but cool. It's like, think about it. It has almost all the same things that you see in Lords, but none of the pretension. Goddamn bridge, man. It's like the coolest thing.
They don't also like charge you like 160 pounds.
Oh, yeah, they also don't. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome to watch a match at Trent Bridge. And I think we saw a great day's worth of cricket as well, right? Mm-hmm. Like in the end, India ascended. Bowling England out for really cheap, under 200, 183 to be precise. And then India safely negotiating the 15 odd overs that were left. I think it was 13. 21 not out. Both openers still in the crease, batting some time. I mean, it's pretty much the perfect day that India could have hoped in these circumstances.
It's pretty much exactly how India would have wanted it to be drawn up, except they wanted to be batting instead of bowling, because India lost the toss, because that's a thing that Kohli does.
Yeah,
and it's a thing that Joe Root does to win tosses.
Although I will say it wasn't a bad decision overall, right? Because we were looking at this the pitch, right, when we were watching it. Both teams, I think you made this point earlier when we were talking about it. Both teams screwed up, right? They both thought that this was going to be an incredibly like seamer friendly pitch. Left out the spinner, or two spinners in the case of India. In obviously in England's case, the one spinner. They left out both spin bowling options, right? Main spin bowlers, I should say, to get the four-seamer combination in, right? And they did that on the accounts of thinking the this Trent Bridge pitch at least, would be a traditional slow seamer that you get at Trent Bridge. Remember 8 for 15 in 2015 that brought direct Australia with, several other examples. Jimmy has a very good record here. So they expected this to be the seamers ruling the roost, right? And some of the swing bowlers with the slightly overcast conditions throughout the day helping, right? And rain inclement. And it could turn out to be a good decision. Obviously, the 5 days hasn't come out. But from the evidence of the pitch itself, right? We're not seeing that, right? This is a pitch that.
So I mean, like, I looked at the pitch, I was full on pitch watch during the lead up to this match. Because I want to see some actual Test cricket. I haven't seen any Test cricket in some while since the championship and the West Indies series ended. So I looked at the pitch and I saw that it had like a sort of a green top. But underneath, it had been so dry the last few days.
It didn't rain, right?
It didn't rain. It didn't rain. It was hot. So, like, the underneath that was sort of brown and sort of it would deteriorate faster. So, personally, what I think is going to happen, barring weather, right? If it rains, then
it's a different story.
Then it's a different story. But if it doesn't rain, it's like similar weather to today. I think there's rain in the forecast, but if it's similar weather to today. After day 3, this might start turning. That can be an issue for both teams. India has shown that, barring Rishabh Pant and Rohit, none of their players are really gifted in the same way that previous Indian generations of batsmen were at handling spin.
Although they're gifted in the reactions of getting out. Kohli always
that is true. England has, I think we can all agree, one batsman who knows how to play a turning ball, and that's Joe Root.
Yeah, that's it. Don't even try.
That's the team. The team is Joe Root. But again, that's not new for England. That's their current strategies. Joe solved the problem.
Yeah. He didn't solve the problem, mate. He got a 50 today. We're reverted back to Joe Fiddy today. Didn't go.
I'm gonna give Joe Root some respect here. Like, it's not his fault. The rest of his team let the entire team down.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can't get
what's that Harsha Bhogle line? It's like that one a dad of a 10 family household comes home gets yelled at because he's only making enough because he's the only one who does any work.
It does have to go to the Indian bowling though, and I think it was also assisted by the pitch in a sense, because the pitch was too paced to some extent, right? Like we saw some balls that the keeper was struggling to keep, dying onto him, and then some that were taking off from a length, just rising. There were a couple from Shami that
By the way,
did that.
credit needs to go to. By the way, some credit does need to go to Rishabh Pant for handling those balls. It was a two-pace pitch, and he didn't make many mistakes. I didn't see him make any mistakes. I missed a little bit of that last session, but other than that, it looked like he was just naturally just taking the ball, handling every difficult ball that would stay low or come high or move to the left or move to the right. Keeping in England is hard.
Yeah,
it's what I'm trying to say, and Rishabh Pant showed himself pretty well.
And to your point, it's an improvement from when he was here the last time, right? He wasn't, his gloves are moving together, right? Like he was making a lot of like one-handed catches, you remember? Because that
were spectacular, but really, really bad.
Yeah, because the entire one of the keepers to make your job easier while going for the catch. You need to have some anticipation, and his anticipation with both of his gloves this time, was much better. Shami, he kept things very tight indeed. Economy under 2, and he bowled some Jaffas today, but he still has the problem that he had at that WTC final, in that he bowls a lot of pretty deliveries, a lot of ooh and ah deliveries, where you go and you're like, oh man, how doesn't he have 10 wickets? And then you actually look at the length, and still that's 6 inches too short, man. Like, I mean, he got
wickets. It's frustrating because I think that Shami is bowling short because he's used to bowling short, because that's how much he has to bowl short to get the ball to move. But
and to bounce at a certain height in India, but it's still an adjustment that he struggles to make, and it's struggling because his seam presentation is so immaculate. So if you just
he is by far the prettiest bowler in cricket when it comes to like his action, his delivery, the way the ball comes out of his hand, bounces and then moves. It's just poetry in motion.
But from a pretty
it's
bowler,
so frustrating. But he did show signs that it just takes him a little bit. Again, we've known this about Mohammad Shami his entire career, right? He takes a little bit of time just to get his motor going at the right, get all his stuff lined up, and once it's lined up, it's just relentless.
It's a very well-oiled action from start to finish by mechanically. He's the strides are good that he's taking. They're not too large. It allows him to create momentum in the crease, and we saw that he was able to do what Shami does at his best, which is seam it both ways, get the ball to swing a bit in the air, and he bowled incredibly well. I would actually argue, specifically to Dom Sibley, completely had him flustered. From a guy who bowls pretty like Shami to a guy who bowls with a very ugly, aesthetically looking action, but is mighty effective, Jasprit Bumrah. Fantastic, mate.
Yeah, I mean, Jasprit Bumrah, as I said, he's India's second match winner. If they can't get something from Ashwin, and they just toss the ball to Bumrah and say, make something happen,
he'll do it.
And he'll do it. Most of the time. He didn't do it in the World Test Championship final. I think that's, again, he's just a bit out of nick.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been out of nick for a while, but this was the first time.
Since he got injured in Australia.
Yeah,
I think, really.
This was the first time in a long while. Really, even since back to the Windy series that he had like side them out, where he looked that in parts. He wasn't there fully. There were still moments where he wasn't bowling top whack. I mean, because Bumrah is the kind of guy who can sustain 140 Ks to 148 Ks in a test match consistently if you give him 5 over spells, right? And he didn't quite do that today, but especially that end, he did in that final couple of spells. Wrecked Broad with the great LBW appeal, got Anderson out once, or it looked like at the time, denied, and then just fired in that Yorker and nailed him. It was a great sight.
I'm going to say this about Jasprit Bumrah. I think Jasprit Bumrah intentionally keeps some pace back until he knows that he's in good rhythm, until he knows that everything is going right, and then he accelerates, and that's when he gets... It's almost terrifying to think of, right? You have monsters like Nortje and Rabada who just go, or even Cummins, who just steam in at full pace, just batter you. Jasprit Bumrah can do that if he wants to, but he's smart enough to know that, okay, I'm gonna bowl at 80% of my full effort for the majority of the match until I get myself into the position in which I need to be in, or that my team needs me to bowl at 100%. Then I'll bowl 110% in that 20% of my energy reserve. I'm just going to empty the tank, get it, knock over the tail, knock over whatever I need to.
Yeah, he goes for the kill when he senses it, right? Which is a hallmark of a great bowler. Although I will also say that it's a matter of length as well, right? Like a huge reason why he wasn't successful earlier on was, again, he wasn't comfortable in rhythm. So to prevent getting driven and hit, he tries to get that length a little bit shorter. And today, when you saw when the pace was up, the length was fuller as well, which is what needs to happen. The only thing I'd say missing today in his performance was the effective use of a bouncer, especially against the likes of Curran, who is weak against that. A short pitch ploy would have been useful. The magnificence of Shami and Bumrah in many ways I'd say, sort of masks the shortcomings of Siraj, who I didn't think bowled badly today. Yes, he
didn't bowl well.
No, he didn't. He strayed on the pads way too much. I liked the fact that he was bowling a fuller length, but the problem was that scrambled seam, man. Like we saw him take a fifer in Australia by bowling with the upright seam. He's a good bowler with the upright seam, and I can clearly sense it's a tactical decision. Somebody must have told him in the camp, "Hey, we want you to bowl with the scrambled seam.
We want you to be the enforcer today." Right? Or we want you to be the third seamer and just hit people, make people uncomfortable, make them move their feet.
Yeah, and
that's the only reason I would see that they would do that. But it's like
the other thing,
England, just bowl straight, straight, and have these guys get themselves out.
The other thing is, like, for sure, that was sort of to your point, right? I think maybe because the ball was too paced and there was some inconsistent bounce, the idea was to just scramble the minds of the batters. If you have a scrambled seam, you don't know where it's going to go. But it clearly didn't work. Tibbers was bad today. He was bad. He was bad. He was really bad. And I'll tell you what, you can tell that with a guy like Sibley, right? He's trying a lot, right? He's trying. He's opened up his. He's closed up his. What do you call shoulder with his technique? Yeah. He's trying to play a little bit straighter. He's trying to hold his hand grip. Is trying to be a little bit tighter as well, because he has this tendency of playing away from the eye line of the ball, but the problems remain, man. Like he's a very limited player, and he still has this annoying tendency of getting out the deliveries that are on leg stump and just pushing them away.
It makes no sense, but it makes perfect sense all at the same time.
Because it's the eye line. He just doesn't have he plays away from the body in the opposite direction, which is so weird to watch. Everybody else is making
I think Holding was on commentary and he joked that no, it was Bumble who was on commentary, and he was like, as Ian Botham once said, the bat has two edges.
It was uses the other. No, at least he gritted it out. There were others who didn't really even bother that. Josh Butler, Dan Lawrence, the best you can say about them is they lasted for some deliveries but they didn't manage to score any runs. Butler just doesn't seem to have the technique or temperament to consistently over a long period of time succeed as a wicketkeeper, a test wicketkeeper, especially in English conditions overall. He just keeps on.
Interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I have an interesting view on Josh Butler. Just that Josh Butler, the batsman, is actually very good. Josh Butler, the wicketkeeper, is not very good.
No, he hasn't, but also he just for test match cricket, right? He just doesn't have the temperament. You stave him off for even 15 balls, right? You just bowl tight to him. He goes feeling for a delivery like he did. He just went and nicked it off six stump because again he has the temperament issue.
He needs to score runs. He's a guy who needs to score runs.
And his head it keeps on falling off, so it makes him a prime LBW candidate in many ways too. And so it's just not a good sight to see. We'll say positives to take out from this dismal batting lineup performance. Root, consistently playing well. His adjustments to technique to make him a more backward side player was quite good.
Yeah. I think you can say England is now 10 players and Joe Root.
Yes. Although one of those players apart from Burns, may join the ranks of like at least the good tier, and that was Zach Crawley. He too made some changes to his technique. I thought quite good ones actually, because in the case of Crawley, similar idea to Burns. He closed that shoulder a little bit more.
You mean Sibley?
I mean Crawley specifically. I'm talking about Crawley.
No. I agree with you. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that not Burns, Crawley, not Burns, Sibley. God, you got me confused.
No, I mean Sibley's the better opener. I mean Burns is the better opener of the two.
Yeah. But like, you're talking about his shoulder, like in the way that
Sibley. I'm talking about Sibley.
Yeah.
So Crawley, like Sibley, did decide to put, close up his shoulder a little bit, and the front tap that we were talking about is back as well when he's cover driving. He's primarily front foot player, and that along with some slight adjustments to his back lift as well, right? Just to get a little bit more straighter at the point of impact with the line of the ball. Played really well. I mean, I know he got a really good delivery. Siraj was bowling a couple of really good deliveries to him in that first spell of his. Because Siraj did bowl a first good spell. It went bad, haywire later on, right? But he looked really solid, man. And I reckon he could go back to his like 257 days against Pakistan, scoring those many runs. I could reckon he could go and become a huge run scorer for them. This continues. Barrister was back. I made no reservations about it. I don't think he was test class anymore. He shouldn't be in the side as a batsman. Obviously, he's then there because of injuries to Pope and so forth. He looked better, but
honestly, one thing that I did see is that he did make a technique change with his back and across movement, which personally I think, and I think Atherton brought it up. He said that I think he's doing it to try and get rid of like clean bowled, because that's an issue for him. Because Johnny Bairstow cannot hit a straight ball.
No, he can't.
That's the word around the circuit.
And it's because of limited over cricket. He walks back from the stumps, right, to open it up and let his offside play get better in limited overs cricket. That came into Test cricket, and that means you keep on leaving your stumps open, you're gonna get bowled in them eventually. He did take a guard that was a little bit more in line of protecting the stumps, but he still got LBW.
Yeah, he did. But I'm going to give him some credit. He did face 71 balls, which was the second highest amongst any England player.
That's true.
And he did get a good. I mean, it was Mohammad Shami who got him, which is like, okay, fine, fair enough. He looked the most threatening of the Indian bowlers, not named Jasprit Bumrah.
A couple of these positives apart, England's batting was dismal. The Ollie Robinson dismissal, I know he's a number 8 or 9, but that summed it up the most, right? Like,
digging a ball out from
just
stuck
popping
in the
it up in the air,
missing it.
Yeah, just popping it up in the air, and pulling it, checking the pull, right? Playing a check pull. And then just like giving it, virtually gifting it to, it was pretty terrible. And there was just a lot of incompetent batting at the end. And the thing is, England actually had a chance of like recovering too, because Kohli seems to have not learned the lessons from the last time they were here in terms of field settings. He had left every man on the, back.
Whenever samcurran has, I swear to God, he has a complex when it comes to samcurran.
Kept on bowling length to him. Kept on bowling Shardul Thakur on.
Samcurran is a quality player, but it's like he's not Virat Kohli. He's not Joe Root. He's not Kane Williamson. You don't need to push everyone back against him. You can keep them up. You can get him out.
And then as instructing all your bowlers to bowl like regular length when clearly Curran has a problem against the short ball. He has a problem against like the full fired in Yorker. I mean, Bumrah could do it to get rid of Anderson. He could do it to Curran as well. Game tomorrow, man. What do you predict? What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be determined in the first session. If India can go in 1, maybe 2 wickets down with any two of their top 4 still at the crease, that's probably advantage India. Probably India wins the match based on those guys being there, right? Because if they can get to, let's say, 80 by drinks tomorrow, right? So it's about 10 over. So actually, not 80. Let's say about 100 by lunch. 100 by lunch.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning. I think that's advantage India. They don't really, at that point, 100 for 2. Yeah, I mean, I'd take that if I was India. I know that next up comes Rahane. Next up, and after Rahane comes punt. And after punt comes.
You can get that
Jadeja.
acceleration, as you brought a point here, right? And I'd agree. I think I'd agree. Likewise, that's the aim. Don't lose more than 2 wickets before lunch, and then consolidate, right? I agree with that.
Yeah, but consolidate tomorrow morning, and then go on the attack in the afternoon.
Yeah,
and try and then run up the score by in the evening. If you're concerned that you might lose a day to rain, in that case, and then. If I'm England, you have to take wickets. That's the only way forward. You have to take wickets. It doesn't matter how many runs you go for. You have to take wickets to have any chance of winning this match.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think there's any option apart from that. I will say my prediction: India to get out all out for precisely about 300, which will give them about 100 lead. And then
that should be enough.
And then we'll see Curran come back and ghost us again because Kohli doesn't know how to set fields down.
And we don't have either of the bowlers that are like specialists at getting out left armers.
Yeah.
Because we also have 300 wicket men.
A current century incoming.
I said in the morning I was on Reddit and people were like, oh well, why are people so angry about Shardul making the team? He's a good bowler. And I'm like, okay. The problem is, do you want to drop Jadeja to play Ashwin? Because that doesn't make sense.
He's not a good bowler.
No, I want to play both of them.
First of all, but even besides that argument,
play both of them. But,
yeah,
and you get the guy who get all left. Like he's kryptonite to every left-hander.
Left-hander.
It doesn't matter.
And your big problem is that you're getting owned by this little left-hander in tests. That note, guys, we're gonna sign off. It's been fun. It's been long-winded but really fun. Enjoyed this a bunch. And yeah, just tomorrow is gonna be a critical day. And it may very well decide this match, given that one innings is already up, right? So stay tuned for that. We'll be covering it. And yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
See you guys.